Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Darshan Talks, but as usual, with some dude, Dan Safara, one,
Yeah.
the only, the man, the myth, the legend. He is the guy you go to when you go, holy shit, what do I do now?
Wow.
Clinical research guru, if you will. So Dan, before we continue, tell us more about you.
Yeah, sure. If we get the producer to cut the music, I mean, that's amazing.
I mean, we
Music.
could, but geez.
Wait, do you go like just a whole podcast with music?
I don't know. Never tried this before. It's been a long time since I did,
That's
since I did a
cool.
live stream.
I didn't know if that was your thing or not, but like, yeah, the music was cool, but it was like catching up to me. Darshan, man, what a pleasure to be on the show, on your podcast. Like, I've known you forever, and I'm so glad to see you back on X. It's so cool to see you on there.
It's good to be on X. I gotta say that
And we're
I
streaming
was on
on
X,
right now,
but
too.
you were the guy who actually got me back on because I was kind of like meh, and you're like, no, you gotta come back on.
Back. There's serious people on there now. So yes,
Is it just me or does it feel like old Twitter right now?
it's fun again. Like, I don't know what went on with that censorship and all that. People can read the book, Elon Musk's book, and there's another book called Hatching Twitter. So it was like before Elon and then post Elon, but in between there was like this weird time where FBI was like paying them for info. Everyone does it, but it got weird. But we're back. It's back to being land of the free again.
What I liked about it is the conversations seem to be more, for lack of a better term, like honest and fluid.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure how good that's going to be in the long term, but we'll find out.
Free speech is not free. Like, there will be people that get offended by certain things, but what would you rather have? Like, someone tell you what you should hear, or just you decide for yourself? And so I like it.
I'm excited, but I'm gonna kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. So here's the big news. I mean, we're talking about how Twitter's sort of coming back to its original sort of goals.
Yeah.
But what we are also dealing with is layoffs. Now, one of the weird things for me, Dan, is what you've talked about before, which is you've told me that the clinical research industry is booming. Like
booming, Darshan. Booming.
So how is it booming if we have this situation where we've basically got people being fired? Like Icon today, I think, fired a bunch of people.
Yeah. I don't understand it. At the site level, it's booming. All the sites I know, we can't get enough studies. Like, I just got another one yesterday, COPD. We're in study startup for like 8 studies right now, which for my company is crazy because we're small. We're interviewing new staff tomorrow. We need more staff. All I can say is I think the CROs overextended themselves with the vaccines. And if the return to normalcy, like, there's not that many vaccine trials anymore. I know a few people have some, but like, I think that was like inflated the revenues of CROs and also inflated like the job numbers.
So what I think and I hear you saying is, if you were lean and mean the whole time, this is the boom times. If you were not, now is when you cut fat.
If you were lean and mean, now is the boom times. But no, because the sites, I'm not lean and mean as a site. Like, I always think I'm overstaffed. But the budgets are good. The economics work to where you can be overstaffed and still make money. Like, there's people on YouTube saying you can. I disagree. And some of them are like my business partners. I disagree.
So it's interesting you talk about this because that's why, and you and I have had multiple conversations about this. I'm working with a bunch of different smaller sites who are all saying, and I told you that I've been talking to like PE investors, and I do a lot of work in clinical trial site, private equity
big stuff, man.
Yeah, but the interesting part is sites are being gobbled up as we speak. Yep. We're seeing multiple types of multiples being used.
We're getting offers too, myself. Like, yeah.
So that's exciting, right? Like,
it's exciting, yeah.
So what stops you from cashing in?
I'm not ready, but I have to take it to a certain EBITDA
Yeah.
before I can really get the multiples I want that I know we deserve in this environment.
So that's a great question. So first of all, for those people who don't know, like you're talking like an owner, right? You're talking like you want this EBITDA. What is EBITDA? Why should they care about it?
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and it's basically what you have before you pay yourself as the owner. So gross revenue minus your expenses before you pay yourself as the owners.
So if this is the boom times, would you say that smaller site, like more people should jump into it? You and I know some people who are going, I'm going to start my own clinical trial site.
I don't think it's a bad idea if you know what you're doing. If you're a CRA that's just been laid off, possibly, like you do have connections. I think what you should do is spend some time at a site to really learn how to run the business, because I think a lot of my coordinators are better equipped, even only like the ones that have been here like a year, are better equipped of starting a site than a CRA that's been maybe 15 years, because they at the right place you get exposed to more of the actual business operations at a site than you would as a CRA. As a CRA, your site should be like excellent quality wise, right? But I mean, it's a lot more to making money than just having great quality.
I mean, we've got Brady coming on, Dan with the fancy lamp.
Brady, what up, man?
Seriously, what is with that lamp and the alcohol right next to it?
The lamp turns on for after darks, so it's metaphorical too. Like it allows us to see through the darkness.
Do you come out in like a totally different either like party vibe outfit or what's going on there?
No, I might have a drink, but right now I'm like supposed to not be on caffeine or alcohol for the next 3 days. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I'm doing a detox.
Wow.
You kind of know why, but we got to keep it on the low. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you reach out to Dan, you'll find out why he's detoxing.
Sure, reach out to me. You'll be ignored on that question.
But now let's talk a little bit about the most common. Like you and I have to do this podcast that I've been talking about.
Yes.
We're gonna do it on your podcast soon, but I'm really excited for this topic because I've spoken to like 4 different people who are again 15, 20 years each in the industry, and they've all been like, we have been ignoring this topic the whole time. So stay tuned. The next one we're gonna do with Dan because it's gonna like break open things.
Next week we can do that one. Next week
we can do that one next week. Today we're talking about clinical research. We're talking about layoffs and staffing. I'm curious, are other sites just as busy as Dan's site? Like I know that some of the people I'm representing are, but I've heard that some of the universities are less busy.
Universities don't count, so they don't make money the way we do.
Why is that?
They're in a different business. I mean, just that they do clinical research is the only similarity we have. Their revenue streams are totally different than ours.
What are your revenue streams?
Industry sponsored trials.
Okay.
And academics do those because they have to, not because they want to. They're in the business of getting grants, of tech transfer office. Like they have different priorities. They're actually playing like on a much higher plane. Like they're playing 3D chess. We're playing 2D chess, but I'm not an academic institution. I wish I could get government grants to like mess around.
So it's interesting. I was actually, again, I used to work with a couple of the larger universities as well. And they research for them sometimes is a cost center, because what they're doing is they're saying, I need to recruit physicians, and physicians will only come in if I'm doing clinical research.
Yeah. Same with their residency programs too.
Right.
Like, hey, we can't attract residents, especially if they're like in less popular towns.
Yeah.
Unless we do research. So yeah.
So the question then becomes, okay, we're now in a world where academic programs are working in a different world than the UMA clinical trials of the world. How do you establish a profitable clinical research site if you have never run a research site before?
That means you've got to do the work. Like you got to be the coordinator, you got to be the contracts and budgets, you got to be their patient recruiter, you got to be the business development. I mean, you make money doing studies. It's just you're going to lose it if you spend it in inefficient ways.
Dan, I became an owner because I wanted more control of my time. I was hoping that when I do this, I'm going to be able to sort of lay back, watch other people do the work.
You're going to control your time all you want, but then the market's going to decide if that's fair. And the market will win because that's the market. Like you can control your time later. It's called building a system. It's called giving up some of the profit margins at the expense of freeing up some of your time. It's called preparing your business to be acquired. They don't want you, the acquirer doesn't want you to be involved. They want a system. So your multiple will be higher if you can do that. But why does no one want to do that? Oh, well, that means this month instead of paying myself $4,000, I can only do 2. Nah, I won't hire a coordinator.
Yeah.
And then that just continues like ad infinitum. How do you pronounce that?
Ad infinitum, ad infinitum, whatever. Who cares? Yeah. Close enough.
I'm talking to an attorney, so I gotta be right here.
Since you caused this to happen, not legal advice.
Not legal advice, not business advice. Well, we can say business advice. This is business advice.
This is educational reasons only. Just want to be clear about this.
This is business advice on my end. Don't mess around and think that you like, okay, you're going to work harder as a site owner than you ever have in your life and for free.
And you're gonna do it because you enjoy it. You're gonna do it because love it. You. Exactly. Don't do it because you think it's gonna be a money-making venture.
But it is a money-making venture.
Well, here's the thing I tell you. Every unprofitable site I know that's small is because they went into it thinking that they're gonna have more control of their time and it's a money-making venture. The people who went in there with the idea of I want to control my time and I want to do it. I'm willing to work as hard as it takes because it's my company. It's my blood. It's my sweat, my tears. Right. Those are the successful ones.
Sure. It becomes personal. It does become personal. I think there's an element of that. I think it's impossible to build a successful business without having like some personal, like emotional attachment to it.
I think that's the point. So let me ask you this from a building these systems standpoint, how are you building these systems? Because I'm working with an individual right now and they're building these systems as we speak. The problem is it's expensive.
Yeah, you build one step at a time. Like the first thing you should do is hire a coordinator. So once you have revenue coming in, right, you be everything at first. Then the first thing you should remove yourself from is being a coordinator. But you can't do that as soon as you hire a coordinator. You need to train them. It's going to take you like 3 to 6 months. Now you're building a system. Hey, what are you doing? How are you training them? Well, write it down. Put it in your, not necessarily your SOP because those are auditable, but I have like employee handbooks.
Okay.
And because I keep that separate from the SOPs just in case.
Why?
Because they're very detailed. And I've been taught on SOPs to be vague but detailed just enough.
And how do you decide if you're detailed just enough?
I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to wait for an audit. I know when it's detailed. Like my manuals are detailed. This is how you enter in Creo. This is how you should call a patient. But that's like a whole nother topic. But building the system.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
You have to figure out if you're not there one day, can this person do it without you? Like this role of being a coordinator. And you can break that down further. Like, okay, this is a source. This is regulatory. This contract on budget. Don't worry about this yet. Right now, do source. After a while, I'm going to teach you regulatory. Then we're going to build a system for that. So currently at my site, we don't have systems for everything. I'm still wearing hats on a lot of things, but I'm in the process of removing myself from those things one by one. And this is how you do it with cash flow so that you don't do it all at once. Because if you do it all at once, you have no way to control the quality of it. And you have no way of knowing, okay, is this person actually capable of all of it? right? So our next hire, which is tomorrow, is an admin. That's going to put us one step closer. We're now separating like the CRCs from calling leads, patient leads. We're going to have an admin do it and schedule, because we found there's a lot of time back and forth, pre-screening, and they could be answering queries instead of like pre-screening, but still I need patients to be called too. So that's an admin. I think an admin can be trained eventually to be a coordinator. And then now we have like a farm system, how we attract talent. Okay, we put you in here. If you're good, you come here. If not, you stay there. And you just do
if
this
you have
for
a
everything.
farm system, does that make you a pharmacist? And the reason I ask is because we had a whole discussion about pharmacists there.
I had a whole discussion about pharmacists this morning, but with someone from Bulgaria. But no, the farm system's more like a baseball, like a major leagues. You know, they all have their minor league farm systems. Like when I need a catcher, it's actually a perfect analogy.
Dude, are you really going to talk sports with me? Like after all these years, you're really going to talk sports with me?
Darshan, baseball teams do this perfectly. They have a system.
Okay.
They have 9 positions on the field, right? It's baseball. If their center fielder gets hurt and their backup in the dugout is not available, they have to go to the minor leagues.
Yes, I know some of those words.
But in the minor leagues, you hope that person's developed already.
Right.
Like you can't just go to the minors and they say, "Oh no, we just got a guy yesterday, but we don't know. We can't send him up." No, that dude better have been there for a while producing, so you're ready to go. And the best teams have the best farm systems in place. I think it's no different in research. You constantly need new talent, and while you're growing, like when you get to a level of like maintaining it, you may not need a farm system.
So here's what I'm going to add on to this. I think the other addition to this is something you mentioned a second ago, which is you need this farm system. The question is, where are you harvesting these people from? Community. And what I mean by that, go ahead.
The community, like
your local community.
Yeah, where else? Like they're not going to come
what
from
about
like
the world.
No,
why?
Not yet. We're not ready. Why is that? We're not ready because we're not fully digital yet at our site.
Would you do it then?
Probably not.
Why?
There's local nuances that you need to know. So I'm glad you brought this up. It was 2 weeks ago. One of our coordinators, she's like the mayor of Yuma. She knows like almost everyone. She's been here her whole life.
Right.
She was pre-screening. This was one of the things I'm watching her. I'm like, she shouldn't be doing this right now. She should be doing something else. I need an admin. So she's talking on the phone. I'm listening. The patient says, "Well, where are you located exactly?" And she gives them the address, and they're like, I'm confused. I still am not sure where that is." She's like, "Oh, do you know the airport tower? We're right by there." No one can do that from overseas, man.
Yeah.
We're not ready for that. People just talk in theories about this. You can't do that yet. You can do certain things. Quality assurance, you can do.
Ooh, I'd be careful with that too. So a lot of the interviews don't quite work the same way. But here's a piece I'm going to tell you, because I got caught up in this in some of the other roles I've had. So I serve as general counsel and stuff sometimes. When you have these remote sites, they'll go and hire people from these other states, which is great, right? It sounds great as a concept. What a lot of people forget is you now need to register to do business in those states. And now if you've got 15 people in 15 different states,
we're not with that.
To coordinate.
We're not with that. Yeah, even without the legal stuff.
And then you got to like pay taxes in those different states.
Right.
So it's not just registration, it's taxation, it's management. You can get people to do all that for you. The problem, however, is if you get people to do that, it's, again, money coming out of your pocket. And it's people you can't supervise in person and train them and teach them and all those good things.
Right.
So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying be aware.
I'm saying I'm not a fan of that anyways, because I think if we're building something in the community, we should give back to the community, meaning let's hire locally. Like, why just do the studies on people here? Why not employ people from here as well?
What if they don't know? How do you train them?
That's what
especially
we do.
If you so you have a site, for example, in Yuma. Where are your other sites?
San Bernardino, California.
Okay. How far away is San Bernardino from you, approximately?
3.5 hour drive.
Okay. How often do you drive there?
Once a month.
Okay. And that's my point. How do you supervise someone once a month to train them to get to the place where you want them to be? If there aren't enough people that are San Bernardino, you may actually have the right people. But as we start talking about diversity of clinical research, You want not just the patient population, but also, as you're just pointing out, the importance of having the staff represent that diversity.
Yes.
And if that's true, how do you make sure that you are training that staff to be ready to provide the quality to meet the systems that you have?
That's when you got to not be lazy and just build systems. Like we have CRC Academy. We built that for ourselves first. Like we started the CRA Academy, but then the CRC Academy was like, hey, we need to train. Like these coordinators don't fall out of the sky, especially in Yuma. We have to find talent. Like tomorrow, we're doing a unicorn hunt. There's like 10 people showing up to interview. I'll be lucky if like one or two of them I think I see potential as coordinator. And if not, we have to do it again. And then when they come on, you shadow the coordinator, you learn this is our system little by little. By month 3, you should be able to do a screening visit on your own. If not, let's retrain you. Like, where are you missing? Like, it's a lot of hand holding, one-on-one stuff.
And how do you pick the right person? You said 10 of them may not be the right fit.
That one is like, first of all, it's not just me. It's a group setting. So there's me, a business partner, our lead CRC. If they pass that, then they meet the rest of the team and they can block them too. So it's kind of like everyone basically has to agree, but ultimately I get the last say. But I generally listen to what everyone says. Like there was someone I wanted to hire that the team said no, and I was sad about it. I'm like, all right, we're not gonna hire you. But if I really really like that one, they would have got hired.
So let's answer that question, right? Because we're talking about all types of topics today. How does someone make sure that Dan Safara really, really likes them? And I don't mean Dan Safara specifically, but I mean, is it a good idea to reach out and develop that personal relationship?
Yes, after you've done your homework. So just like we can't be lazy, you shouldn't be lazy if you want to work for me either. I'm going to work hard for you. You're going to work for me. I'm actually working for you too. I'm helping you build your career, helping you do what you want to accomplish. That's not easy, right? I could be podcasting with Darshan. I could buy a better camera and do more vlogs.
That's a pretty good camera, just to be clear.
It's
we had
all
a whole
right.
discussion about this.
It's all right.
He's playing a whole different league right now.
So you got to be prepared. Like if we have a website, we have an Instagram. It's publicly facing. It's not hidden. You don't have to solve puzzles to figure out where it's at. We try to make it obvious. If you come in the interview and you don't know what kind of studies we do when they're plastered all over our social media, that's a red flag to me. Like, okay, you're not interested then. All right. If you didn't Google what clinical research is, I don't care if you don't find my videos, find Darshan's, somebody learn something before you come to me. That shows me you're actually interested. You're being proactive. Those are like qualities. Those are traits of someone with potential.
Now, here's the question. A lot of people come in and they grovel. And they're like, Mr. Safara, I really need this job right now. My kids haven't eaten in 4 months. I don't know how your kids are surviving after 4 months.
We're not a charity. Like we can connect you to people, but this is not why we're here.
I'll work really hard for you.
Well, do you know anything about the studies we do?
Well, I haven't had a chance to look at it because none of my people actually ever had a social media site before. So I didn't even know to look.
Did you see our website?
Stop asking the hard questions.
Yeah, see, and we get those.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as blatant as what you just demonstrated, but it could get there. That's when I usually look at usually it's my wife helping me because she does our HR.
Yeah.
And one of my business partner and our lead, and they know if I'm getting irritated, I'll just look at them and they'll take over like that. If I don't talk in the interview, it's a bad sign. It's bad.
Knowing Dan, if you don't talk, there's something really weird going on.
There's something weird going on. But it's tough, man. Like not everyone and there's arguments that Gen Z is, I mean, the old people always say that about the new generation. I think it's nonsense. I think I've found great Gen Z employees. I'm a millennial. There's great millennials. But it's unfortunate, but I think it's trending towards less quality of workforce than more.
So you're saying the older generation tended to be, is it, I don't know if the word is more hardworking, but more willing to put in the hours.
I think the more precise word might be more responsible of their outcomes.
Ooh, that's an
Personally.
interesting one. So, which is interesting, right? Because what you're talking about is this idea that we're shifting away from working 9 to 5 to give me the outcome I need. I don't care if you do it in 3 hours. If you can get the job done in 3 hours, get it done.
Sure.
But
there's people that need to work, like you said. They need to be part of a big system. As long as you don't go outside the lines, you're okay. You know, if you just speak politely and don't offend anyone, you're okay.
that is so not you.
That's not my company. Like that, you gotta work here, and I don't care what days you want off or what time you gotta go. I don't even need to hear all that. But we gotta see patients. Like we need 3 to 5 visits a day. That's the goal right now, and we've been doing that from January through March. We had a down month in April because we were on a screening hold. But yeah, like our coordinators know what's up. I try to KPI everything too, key performance indicator. KPI everything to be fair to them, to be fair to the employees.
So this is one thing I'd heard, which is the best run organizations have only one KPI any individual is responsible for. How many KPIs do you give?
Yes, we're a newer company. We're only 2.5 years, so there's a lot of KPIs for my staff. But as we start to streamline things and we have an admin, it'll be simple. What's the screen fail ratio under you? That's one. How many contacts did you reach out to? That's another. Like there's certain things in their control and there's certain things out of their control, right? But even something like a screen fail is in your control because if you're just scheduling everyone, trust me, we've done it.
Right.
Like coordinators are busy. Oh, just come in tomorrow. We'll talk about it, study tomorrow. Well, you screen fail like right away, and the sponsor's like, "What are you doing? Like you're wasting time."
Right.
So it takes effort to lower that screen fail ratio. So that's a KPI. You can do KPI for everything. What do I value is patient visits per day and retention rate of patients, and then I haven't found a better way to articulate it, but happy monitors if you're the
Ooh.
coordinator.
Okay. Okay.
And it's a gut check because some monitors are anal. There's no way to make them happy. I already know. But
Right.
this is why it's helpful that I've done everything that I asked the staff to do. So if you
Right.
have like an unreasonable monitor, that doesn't get held against you. But if I see like data entries not enter, like what we're talking about a month of no entry, what are you doing? Like that's clearly not okay.
Now, what do you say to someone who's saying, I have such an amazing site that I haven't invoiced in months just because it's too busy?
Well, yeah, because the study payments, the sponsors pay like without you having to invoice for patient visits. So we're talking about things like dry ice and screen failures. That's exhibit A of my argument that sites make plenty of money. Because I'm in that camp too. Like I batch my screen fails and my dry ice and all that. It's actually annoying for me to do that, but we do it. I'm trying to automate Creo to have it like to do it more efficiently, but that's proof right there that sites get paid well. Like people complain sites don't get paid well. I don't know. I don't understand it. If they don't get paid well, I wouldn't be doing this. First of all, like I love research, but I'd be doing something else by now.
And I think it's one of those interesting periods where people are going, are we are we in a moment of excess because we're still recovering from COVID, or are we still being paid fair market value?
I think it's more than a fair market value. I think if you take a standard X-ray, right, like Medicare reimbursement,
Yeah.
what it's like $100 with insurance. If it's cash, it's less. If it's with insurance, it's more. We get paid on the upper limits of those normal for most of these things if you know what you're doing as far as negotiating. So Where people say there is no fair market value is because, it takes us like 120 days maybe to get paid for a visit, or you're not paying us for all our screen failures, or you're not paying us to do community outreach. I never bought into that school of thought. I actually think sponsors are, for the most part, fair. I do think you need to negotiate with them. I mean, they'll try to just give you the low ball stuff, but you need someone who knows what they're doing. And then you can get upper limits of fair. And a fair market value for research, I don't think really makes sense. Like, research is not medical care. I
Right.
know a lot of the assessments are also medical care things, but in research it's different. Like, you want a triplicate ECG, like you're
Yeah.
not going to do that at your doctor's office.
Right.
And then you want the PI to look at it right away. You're not getting that at your doctor's office either. So the fair market value, I think pharma uses it like as a tool. Like, you're beyond FMV.
Do you know why?
Probably there's a lot of people like you that are telling them what to say.
Well, actually, it's not just people like me. It's people who are on the other side of me. So the Department of Justice has gone after pharma companies for billions of dollars and basically gone, you're overpaying doctors to participate in clinical research. But what you're really doing is you're bribing them because your research is fraudulent. And it's really supported by sales reps, not by your research department. There was no actual reason to do the research. So, number one, are you paying them appropriately? Are you overpaying them? Those questions come into play.
But I guarantee you, though, because of that, they're using Todd. What up, man? Dude, what an avatar. By the
Isn't
way.
that a badass avatar?
Yeah, that's really cool. What I was gonna say, Darshan, is I guarantee you those are mostly academic centers, because those sponsors want KOLs, key opinion leaders, and they target them.
Yeah,
it's not our community sites that are getting in trouble. Trust me. We're not getting.
That's not always true. Just to be clear, it happens everywhere. The academic medical centers have the KOLs for speaking arrangements. That's where a lot of them get hit.
Okay.
But you do see overprescribing and stuff like that also happening.
Yeah.
Since Todd is on, for those people who don't know, Todd Eury is basically what he calls himself, the Podfather, and he is sorry.
Good thing I have headphones. My husky would have gone crazy.
So what Todd does is he works with pharmacists, and I'm also a pharmacist for some of you who may know. And the cool part about being a pharmacist is right now the big question is how do you get how do you get pharmacists involved in clinical research? How do you do it right? So what do you say about that, Dan? Can pharmacists own clinical research sites using their pharmacies?
Yeah,
as the way to do it. And what do you,
I'm not an attorney. Right? I would ask you if that's legal, and you would probably give me a long answer, like maybe it would be the bottom.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yeah. Okay, thank God we got to answer. Yes. Okay, so I'm right. So yes, and they do. We have clients that are pharmacists.
Yeah.
That you can't be the PI. I think people have to understand this. But then people will argue, well, I see like. They point to academia, like PhDs are PIs, yeah, but not industry-sponsored trials.
Right.
So you still need an MD.
Actually, you can have. I actually know a pharmacist who is a PI, so you absolutely do that as well. By the way,
you can, but it's not common. Like
no, it's not common. I'll give you that for sure.
Absolutely. I wouldn't build my business plan around that thesis.
I think the idea that a lot like the Walgreens of the world and what they might be looking at is starting smaller sites that are that might be pharmacist owned. You might have a different physician, for example, or an NP or something like that builds into your process.
But I think CVS or Walgreens, one of them failed.
CVS came out.
CVS is done.
CVS is done. Walgreens is still in. Kroger, I think, is still in. But
we go there to get dry ice. I mean, thank you for your help and contributions to research. We get the dry ice from there.
This is basically a great reason to do another podcast talking about pharmacies and clinical research sites and how they should be working together.
I think they should be.
So On that note, stay tuned. We're going to do another podcast soon because I want to talk about this big piece of information that I think all clinical trial owners, especially primarily small clinical trial sites, should know about. And we should talk about that next time. We're going to do that using Dan's social media reach because he is a guru.
Yeah. Well, we got YouTube and Twitter right now, but we'll just add LinkedIn to that.
Exactly.
One. Are you joining us after dark tonight?
I'm going to try to join after dark as well. Okay. This has been my 7th meeting today, so I'm a little tired. But I want to have like Todd on when we have that as well at some point, so he can bring out some of those conversations. But this was great. Dan Safara, everyone. He is some dude, the only dude. He is he's the Big Lebowski. That's what he is. So
wow. Thank you for that.